Hey, Christine, welcome to the show. So happy to have you back.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you for having me back. Really great to see you again, and I can't wait for this conversation.
Yeah, can't remember if you've been on once or twice.
I believe I've been on twice.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I normally have people introduce themselves, but because you've been on the show, I talked about you a little bit in the intro. And so I'd love to just dive straight in because I know there's so much we always have to talk about. And I want to start with this. We had a great conversation before I hit record. I always think, I should have been recording that because I could plug it in. But I want to start with this connection that we were talking about around clutter is just a mask for everything else. So I'm going to let that be your diving board to just tee that up and then we can go from there.
Terrific. Tracy is referring to physical clutter. And of course, there are lots of other types of clutter, which I also like to talk about and think about and help people with. But physical clutter is, I think, a widespread issue, a widespread phenomenon. And several years ago, a bunch of my clients around the same period of time were requesting that I help them with this particular issue. And I very quickly said, this is the wrong person you're asking because
Yeah.
I too happen to have clutter, some trouble with clutter, some resistance to dealing with clutter. So I really just was being honest. And then the requests kept coming, and I just said, well, why not? Right? I can't really hurt anybody by doing this.
Yeah.
So I put together a quick 5-day challenge with really just what came instinctually. What would help people to get out of a stuck place, which is my specialty, and what would help people to actually move the clutter, which became my new subspecialty, literally getting people to put their hands on the clutter. And the challenge worked beautifully from round one, which was lovely and a nice surprise. But I learned so much about people from dealing with this topic and doing it in a group challenge because people were letting go of clutter from all different areas of their homes, but also all different phases of their lives, some 30 and 40-year old clutter, if you can
Mm.
imagine. I'm thinking it's
Mhm.
dusty, it's heavy, it's emotionally heavy. And I'm just seeing people do this, mind you, within the space of 5 days. So it's really kind of mind opening. What is going on for people that they just needed the tiniest bit of information? Maybe they needed to get online with a community of strangers. Maybe they needed to feel safe, but it just opens up all these other areas of exploration that aren't just about clutter. And that's why I call clutter a type of mask. Like you say, there are different
Yeah.
voice masks. I think there are identity masks
Hmm.
hidden in the clutter because people really find their energy when they deal with their clutter. That's the number one, I think, biggest result and the positive
Mm.
result. Because typically the complaint people have is they don't have enough energy left
Mm.
over to deal with things they want to, like the clutter.
Mm.
So oftentimes it's not total avoidance of clutter, but there's no energy or there's no feeling of enough energy, or they're worried that the clutter is actually going to be additionally draining, which it can obviously be
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
it's your old life, it's your old identity, it's that old job, it's that old lover, it's
Yeah.
all the old things. But that's a problem too, because if you've got all that old life stuff grabbing at your attention, asking for your space, not going anywhere, what does that do to your energy, your present day energy? It keeps it divided, it keeps it sluggish, and it keeps it stagnant. And
Yeah.
those typically are not words that we like to associate ourselves with if we can help it.
Yeah. I think I think that's fascinating. And I think the most fascinating part of it is the way you referenced identity, because that's the whole voice thing. Our voice is our identity, and we're covering up our identity. So I want to dig a little deeper in this. because I want to fully understand it. So when I keep the baby clothes from 24 years ago and I have 9 crates of it, there's a part of my identity that I have locked in that. Is that what you mean by that?
I would say yes. I
Yeah.
would say
Okay.
yes, because part of your present identity is of the owner of 9 boxes, honestly.
Mm. Hmm.
And if you got rid of, let's say, 8 of those boxes, just for hypothetical thinking, your identity would shift. You would
Yeah.
really, I think, it would change because we change like that. We change
Yeah.
moment to moment. We change because we think differently. We change because we choose differently. And I think we undervalue those kinds of shifts and we overvalue things that are kept in boxes.
Yeah. And do we think we need it? Is that part of our struggle to let it go?
Many people tell me they worry and they believe that they're
Yeah.
going to, these are things that are needed. And
Mm.
very recently, I've started to coach and teach that that may be true. But in the meantime, you could give it out, loan it out, donate it out to someone who's actually going to use it. And then you get to see what it feels like to experiment with that open space
Yeah. Yeah.
in your heart, in your brain, in your energy. And I think, again, we're discounting the value of that.
Yeah. Why do we feel like we need all that stuff, Christine? We're stuff collectors, right?
I think it's we're trained from
Uh,
before we're out of the
yeah.
womb, right?
Yeah. Stuff.
And yeah, and I know years ago there was someone I knew who was kind of interested in the gender reveal phenomenon, those
Uh-huh.
parties, and it really was figuring out the gender so that you could get the stuff, which is
Ah,
interesting. Yeah, it's a happy occasion, and of course it's a miracle process, but it's also about buying the stuff. And
yeah.
so right away, human life is associated with the stuff
Yeah.
and what color and our attachment to the stuff. That's where the energy comes in
Mm.
because we can give attachment to anything we can put a thought to, anything we see, which is why they have a tip when you're going shopping, don't touch the stuff because once you touch something, you feel it's yours. There develops an attachment.
Huh.
And so we've touched all our stuff. We've already identified and pulled in stuff from the universe into our homes. We're attached to it. And then nobody teaches us how to detach from
Mm.
stuff. So we all know 100% how to want stuff, how to
Yeah.
crave stuff, how to envy other people's stuff, but we don't know how to throw stuff away.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
just had to realize that for myself too.
yeah. I'm actually anti-stuff. And so I really don't have 9 boxes of baby clothes. I have one that
Great.
I could probably get rid of. But I was raised by the knick-knack queen of the world. And I mean everything, everything. But where I struggle is like I was given my grandmother's antique table from the 1920s. Do I really want it? No. Do I keep it out of obligation, guilt? I should. I don't want to regret it. Does all that play into stuff and identity and feeling and emotion? I mean, it's all of it, right?
I think everybody who's listening heard it in your voice because your voice got lower
Yeah,
and deeper and more serious,
yeah,
which is interesting because this
yeah,
is not my area. This is your area. But I
yeah,
heard, absolutely
yeah,
heard the difference in the way you were talking about the
yeah,
table and the obligation is heavier. It's literally
yeah,
heavy in your life.
yeah. And what's so fascinating about that table, not that we're doing this deep dive on psychology, but it also used to burn me up that my brother would say, that is garbage, get rid of it. And so there was this piece of, don't tell me what to do. I'm keeping this thing just because you told me to get rid of it. So
Yeah.
there's so much tied up in stuff, isn't there?
Yep. And that's just because he said something.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
totally. I would have gotten rid of it until you told me it was all broken down.
Yeah.
Now I'm keeping it until the day I die. I'll pay $5 million in a storage unit.
And maybe he knew that was exactly the thing to say to tick you off. And there may have been no other thing to do to tick you
Yeah.
off. He just
Right.
knew. Right.
Right. Right. And so you said something earlier, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was about change. We're changing, we're evolving, and yet this we want to keep these things.
Yeah, I think my area of focus recently is midlife and beyond.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because that was the group of women who were coming to me, and I couldn't explain why, but I just said, "Okay, let's go." There's a
Yeah.
lot for me to learn about current and future me too in working with
Yeah.
this set of ladies. And what I realized was that psychological development and emotional development is constant. It does not stop after young adult stage. And I don't think we hear much about the stages beyond young adult stage. There's a
Yeah.
recent uptick in menopause conversation.
Sure.
But then there's also problems with information and resources for women of a certain age, but that's a whole other issue. But I do think I realized, wow, there are just so many developmental issues that midlife women have to face, including what's happening with their nest. Is it empty? Is it not empty of
Yeah.
children? Your parents, are they healthy? Are they nearby? What kind of responsibility do you have towards them, their care, their finances, their medical visits, their property, the stuff they left behind when they left the earth? All this stuff, layers and layers, and every person has a different variation. But I do believe that every person that I've been working with has so many different layers of responsibility. It's energetically really overwhelming and life overwhelming because in midlife, there's also no guidance counselor in the school. There's no school. There's no steady source of regular trained support. And we're just supposed to be just really competent and experienced and knowledgeable about how to navigate bureaucracies and health systems and grief and change and moving and retirement and things like that. So I've just found myself in this world of stressed out people
Yeah.
with a lot of things that they're carrying that I myself might have carried, but I'm not currently carrying all the things at once. But some people are really carrying 4 or 5 heavy life stressors in the same time zone, same
Yeah.
time window.
Yeah. And every piece of it requires a voice piece,
Yeah.
which will link in here. But I want to go back and ask a question for a minute. So, all these women in midlife, were they asking about clutter?
A lot of them were.
Yeah, but it just happened to be the consistency was women in midlife dealing with clutter and then dealing with, in a way, I think, and I don't want this to be taken as a negative at all because I don't mean it as a negative. But would you consider all these external things clutter as well? I have to deal with the empty nest. I have to deal with finding the ways of the pit. Like there's, I think of it as noise, not so much clutter. But is that the same or no?
I don't tend to think of those things as clutter.
Okay.
I think the thoughts that are attached to those events, like emptying your nest,
Yeah.
can be mental and emotional clutter.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there are, I think parents, I'm going to include the men here, really have all different reactions to their kids leaving for college. You see it
Yeah.
right around now is the time when we're seeing the social media posts. Some people are talking as if they do not know how to function going
Yeah.
forward. And then others are partying and are,
Yeah. Yeah.
they've already booked the vacation and they're already feeling free. And of course, everybody's allowed to have their reactions.
Yeah.
And we have to check to see, are you still personally operating within your own full story of your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so as a psychologist, that's what I'm looking for. Are
Yeah.
people impaired somehow
Yeah.
by the beliefs that they're holding? That's
Yeah.
what I'm
Okay.
naturally drawn to seeing and hearing and listening for. And of course, we do that to ourselves because we block ourselves, as you know, from things that might be really great for our lives all the time.
Yeah.
Fear,
Yeah.
confusion, distress, overwhelm, lack of time, bad boss, all these things could lead
Yeah.
to you sabotaging your happiness. And, misery is actually more, it's like easier to see in the world and find than there is joy, unfortunately, even though there's so much joy to be had. I think it's just way easier to complain and feel stressed. And there's a lot of stress around. But my wish is to show people how to just open the door to joy using mindset, productivity, action, changing their stories about themselves, much overlapping the work that you do, also improving your voice and how you show
Yeah.
up for yourself with your voice.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that. I think something that I hear in this is it's really at the end of the day about the energy suck.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I just thought about when you were just saying that was, do we accumulate because we were, I'm trying to merge the worlds, and I'm always working from the world of the five wounds. Do we accumulate because it is just simply too hard to look at the fact that we feel unworthy, or sense of abandonment, or judgment, or are those connected in any way?
The accumulation and the emotional stress.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is not my deep area of
Okay.
expertise. I do know, and I've interviewed some people on my podcast who really are working with the trauma history and the problems with letting go of stuff and the
Yeah.
living in spaces that are overwhelming and are hearkening back to more stressful times and
Yeah.
learning nervous system regulation first and learning that clutter and clutter removal can feel safe. And as you can imagine, if you're from a trauma background, that having stuff can be a real source of comfort, can be an identity of I have stuff, I'm resourced, can make you feel stable. And having somebody remove it, especially someone who's not you, is going to feel like a threat. So that's
Mm.
my basic understanding of the relationship. But I know that so many people, trauma background and not, purchase things to comfort themselves,
Yeah.
purchase things to fill a boredom, even.
Mhm.
So maybe not even distress, but it's habit. It's a lot of habit. And what I love is that we call it a habit because that means it can be changed.
Yeah.
So every habit can be changed. And there's so much more to life than
Yeah.
stuff. And
Hmm.
that you find whenever you just kind of grow up, I think, you
Yeah.
decide to explore a bit and you realize, huh, they don't do this in this country. And they don't do this in this family next door, and
Yeah.
it's really eye-opening. I remember going to college and thinking, man, there was so much I did not know. And thank goodness for things like college.
Yeah. I'm from Texas, and everything is bigger in Texas. And we always had these big houses and lots of stuff. And my mother would, it just drove my dad nuts. She would keep stuff from 30 years ago. I often wonder if I was the happiest of my in my life when I lived in New York City, because I had two tiny closets, and you switched out your winter and your summer, and you didn't have a lot of stuff.
And you were lucky to have two closets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was living big. I was living big. Well, okay, so let's go back to these women that this all this midlife stuff, all these demands. We've got the parents, we've got the empty nest, we've got all of this. So, what do you find happens in those among those demands? the things that we were talking about earlier that you see come up, and a lot of it's related to voice, that in midlife we have all this new bucket of demands and we really don't necessarily know how to communicate our way through it.
I would agree. I think I'm going to ask for your help in
Yeah,
kind of teasing this out because I kind of wandered my way into this zone and I'm not sure. I know I pitched this as an idea for this episode, but I haven't really thought through my own thoughts about the role of voice in protecting yourself from overexertion, overwhelm, and creating relational harmony in difficult situations,
yeah,
like navigating which sibling is going to go visit the parent next or take responsibility for the finances. Those things all have to get done. And I'm sure it's done very differently in different families. So, that I would ask you what you've
yeah,
seen in terms of how much it helps to have voice training and voice coaching when you've got some family stress to be negotiated.
yeah. Well, this is an easy answer actually for me because this is what I see. I see the way I approach voice is all about unhealed wounds, and what's left from that is left in the body of the voice. So I think what happens is we do like what you were saying. We cruise along in our 20s and our 30s and we're doing the thing and we're aware of a couple of things, and then in relation to how we communicate. And then all of a sudden we get, probably it starts, I see it in women and especially in women, but all my people, I don't have a lot of 23-year-olds. I have a lot of 40 and up.
Yeah.
And they get to their 40s and all of a sudden I cannot get my sister to listen to me. I cannot go tell that doctor to shut up and we're not doing it that way. I cannot stand up to my ex-husband and they realize that they never had a voice and it comes crashing in that they were never heard. They were never seen. They never could set a boundary, or they struggle to set a boundary, or they talk too much, or they talk too little. So all of a sudden, this opportunity has evolved to recognize some of my relationships suffer because I can't say the thing. And honestly, Christine, this was the truth for me. Everything I I created because I needed it. So I was probably in my 40s when I realized my sisters could not see me beyond 1973. And I had to communicate differently in order for them to hear me and see me. And I kept trying to communicate the same way we had always communicated.
Yeah. And thank goodness you had that realization and you went with it. And
Yeah,
I know I have benefited and so many of my colleagues have from you and so many people in this audience. And I think you really painted the picture accurately.
yeah,
That this is why people get into therapy, by the way, is because they're former habits and strategies and ways of communicating are just not getting the same results, or they're getting worse results all of a sudden because they're older, because they've maybe risen in status or their job responsibilities have intensified and they just need deeper, richer resources from within. So we're talking tools and skills, but it really is that kind of energy, power, trust, belief in yourself kind of energy that you and I are both trying to talk about. And the voice is that representation
yeah,
of that reaches the other person definitely, right? The hopefulness, the ambition, the idiosyncrasies that we all carry, that gets felt and seen eventually, but the voice is your tool.
yeah.
The voice is your master tool, as I've learned from you, of course.
Yeah, it's the vehicle for sure. And so now we're in these, like you were saying, we're in these scenarios that we've never had to be in before. Mom's in the hospital. I've got to talk to the nursing home. I've got to, it could be any number of things. And then we have the sudden real, or even the empty nest thing, talking to your children differently, talking to your spouse differently, because a huge portion of what your life was centered around is gone. And I watched that happen with my parents. My mother thought she wanted my dad to retire, and then he came home. And now it was like, I mean, the way she spoke to him was just abysmal. But that really can be tracked all the way back to something that was never healed in relation to her using her voice. She talked to him that way because she operated from a place of, he's not going to hear me.
Yeah. And that's where the core belief structures everything that comes after that,
Yeah.
right? What she saw, what she perceived, how her voice came out. And, uh, you taught me this stuff right before we pressed record, right? When I told you about a recent speaking event that I did, and then I saw my voice kind of bringing the old habits back in, like using the word just and
Hmm.
using the word right when I didn't want that. And I don't like hearing that. But you said that was because you were in a situation that was an up leveling for you and it brought back the old protective
Hmm.
tricks that your voice was going to do. And I just, that was immediately registered in my body as the right answer. Right. And there I did it again.
Yeah.
And I love the examples that you're giving because we have realizations all the time. We feel it in our body. We hear it in our voice. We hear it when our voices comes out and we have no idea why we use that inflection or somebody reacted to us in a weird way and we didn't mean it. The evidence is everywhere. And yet in midlife, the danger is that you're so overwhelmed by these events and
Mm.
overwhelm and overdoing it and not taking care of yourself and not sleeping that you miss the cues that this is the time to speak up, right? That frustration that you feel, the voicelessness, the irritability, the awkwardness, any of those things you
Yeah.
could read as, oh, let me pause and figure out what is going on right now. What is it that I need? What is it that I reacted to? Why did I get so hot all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Right. And there I do it again with the right.
Yeah.
I need more help from you, Tracy.
Yeah.
And when you see it from a little bit of a detached place, that you can be super kind to yourself because, of course, midlife women need to be really kind to themselves, then you have a shot at reading what the cues are, at asking someone for help, at saying, hold on there, let me think about this before I agree to something new or different or additional. And that kind of detachment is very healthy, maybe brand new for people like your mom, and can be game changing. It can
Yeah.
literally change how your schedule feels across the week.
Well, and I think people also realize with these things that are coming at them now that are new, that they realize, oh, wow, I've never been able to say no. Oh, wow, I've never, I didn't realize I was a control freak. Oh, wow. And so there's opportunities now that maybe didn't exist before because we were existing differently that now give us opportunity to see the places where our voice has betrayed us, see the places where we're not being heard, really look at, oh, wow, I don't know how to communicate with this person. I'm intimidated by them and I'm giving all my power away. Where prior to this, maybe we didn't notice, or we didn't see, or we didn't look. But in this conversation, I'm really thinking about, and I've not thought about it before, but does that become the catalyst for that comfort buying?
What becomes the catalyst?
Well, my sister doesn't hear me, so I'm just going to run over to the mall.
Yeah. I don't think we need that many excuses to go to
Yeah,
the
right.
mall.
Yeah, doesn't have
but
to be that deep.
But I do think in midlife, it's important to be careful about these choices because guess what? When you go to the mall, guess what you have? More eventual clutter, more future
Yeah.
clutter. Some of the most powerful social media content around clutter is what comes to mind is this one woman facing filled garbage bags of stuff. And in the background, there's a voiceover that says, I just think this all used to be money. It's very powerful.
Mm.
If
Yeah.
you're feeling short on finances, if you're feeling like you're working too hard, look around you and see where has the money gone. And we have a say in all of this. Everything is connected. Our voice, our finances, our identity, our future selves. And when we say, okay, it's time to become the boss of this system, that's when everything can shift.
Yeah.
Your voice, your opportunities, your peace inside your heart, because you can say, I give up the need of being validated by everyone and their sister. I just do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you, way back when, said, I give up the idea that I need to be the same Tracy that I've always been with my family members. And that started everything anew.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to jump back to something you said a minute ago about the web. Well, you didn't say what it was. Maybe I'm not supposed to
Yeah.
say
No,
what
it's
it
okay. It
was.
was
It's
with,
okay if I say it.
yep.
Okay. And there's always these level ups. This is something we were talking about. I said, you want to know who's getting a divorce? I can tell you. You want to know who is struggling financially? I can tell you. I think we have these level ups vocally, and it's not that the work wasn't done, the work didn't stick, but I think it's always this evolution of leveling up. Yeah, you're fabulous. Oh, but hold on, this affected you. Oh, you're fantastic, but hold on a minute, this got in the way. And so we're always looking for those outside things that make us wobbly for a minute. And I think that's exactly what happened. And the right thing, we can even pay attention to what's happening societally, and it comes in our ears. And now all of a sudden, everybody's saying right constantly. It can be a psychology of the voice thing, but I think there's a piece of voice, and there may be a piece of clutter as well, that as humans, we're always wanting to be a part of the tribe.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Absolutely. We know that.
yeah,
I know I'm very much like that. I'm always
yeah,
about the social group and the people
yeah.
and getting more people into the tribe. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's that concept of keeping up with the Joneses. We buy stuff because the neighbor has it. We buy a new backdrop because that really successful entrepreneur has that backdrop. And I think we do those things vocally as well because we want to belong, we want to fit in, we want to be a part of something. And I think those are really connected.
You
It
just made me think about this webinar that I did. So Tracy mentioned it was for WebMD. So for me, it was an up level. I was really
big
happy to
deal.
do it. It was the first webinar of a new collaboration between WebMD and Attitude Magazine, ADD, Attitude Magazine. And so I was very happy to be in this position and I was prepared and I had practiced the delivery one time. And for
Yeah.
me, that was both enough, but maybe not enough. And I was
Yeah.
in between feeling great and calm and happy and curious whether I had underdone my preparation. So there was at least that level of anxiety in there. And midway through the presentation, I thought, I'm really doing this. I'm getting away with this. And then I started the right thing, maybe because of
Interesting.
fatigue or just wanting to be personable or anxiety. Again, like you
Yeah.
said, it's wow, I'm doing this and there's nothing wrong. So let me throw in something that I don't like people doing with their voice accidentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and checking in, let me, I have some remnant of imposter syndrome, or who am I to be doing this? Or wow, I can't believe I'm doing this. Let me sabotage it, or whatever. It could be a remnant of anything. And then that old habit is connected to that remnant. And all of a sudden we start going, right, right, checking in.
Right?
Or just is oftentimes a subconscious recognition that you're really standing in authority and you're really laying down some tracks that some people may not like. And the subconscious kicks in to that, whoa, 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 we got to protect you. It's all about protection. So we're going to just get her to throw in a couple of just to soften the blow.
I really felt that that must have been what was happening, that I
Really?
couldn't necessarily be fully confident.
Yeah.
That would be weird. So I'm going to throw a question to you just about this. How do you overcome that? How do you step into an up-leveled situation and feel that you could really trust that you're not going to bobble?
You do. I mean, it's just that simple. So you and I worked together probably 8, 9 years ago because
A
I was
while
still in
ago.
California,
Yes.
and that would have been 9 years ago. So it could have even been 10, 11 years ago. And I'm always researching, I'm always evolving, I'm always adding new things to what I teach. Two of the things that I hear in this is one, we have to get rock solid in trusting that we know and trusting yourself. And you've done the yards. I mean, if you were right out of college, this would be a harder sell. But deep down, you know. And deep down, do you believe you can deliver this information confidently? So the gap becomes the old safety mechanism of, so you can literally go, yeah, I can totally nail this. I've got it. I know what I'm talking about. I know if it goes sideways, I can save it. I'm totally good. And the subconscious goes, yeah, but what if you don't? And then you go, yeah, but what if I don't?
Yes.
And so it's this literal, I am never questioning that I can't pull it out.
I
There
love that.
was, there was a talk, you knew I did it. I don't know if you were in the room or not, but last year at a conference we go to, I had a 40-minute talk and nobody was coming in the room because the person who asked me to do the talk was teeing it up and was talking about how great I was. And 5 minutes went by, and 10 minutes went by, and 15 minutes went by, and 20 minutes went by. And that whole time I'm sitting there going, this talk's out. But I trusted that I could stand on that stage and deliver something. And it's so rock solid that it becomes unwavering. So it is just exactly what you said. You've got the proof, you've done the work, but it's really the second piece of that trusting. And people bristle when I teach this. When I bring this into my groups now, it's the concept of owning your greatness. And I don't think anybody gives us a permission slip to own our greatness. They give us a permission slip to, you better not sound arrogant or like the B word. And
Hmm.
I teach people to own the greatness. And I own that I know. There's no doubt in my mind, I know, and there's no doubt in my mind that whatever you throw at me, I will be okay. And that's how you do it. But we
Okay.
have to surrender that that's going to be arrogant. And that's the problem, is the subconscious intervenes and says, well, what do you mean own your greatness? You're going to get up there and be like an arrogant a-hole? No, we're going to work from the place of gratitude of, wow, I was put on this place, on this planet with this gift. I can't wait to change these people's lives. That's what I mean by owning your greatness. Because the truth is, the whole thing could go sideways and you would know exactly what to do. And it doesn't matter if it's for the dog in the office when nobody's listening, or the biggest platform you've ever been on in your life. You still know what you're talking about. I don't know. Does that give you something to work with?
I love it. Thank
Yeah.
you. When you
Yeah.
started with that piece, my mind went to, it's just really easy to think that it's going to go south.
So easy.
It's so easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I call it the 50% rule. I'm sure as a psychologist, you probably know some I'm not the one that created this, is basically what I'm saying. But the way I look at it is if there's a 50% chance it can work and a 50% chance it's going to go down the toilet, when it comes to using our voice, we're always going to pick the toilet. We just are by default because that breaks the fall in case we do. And I teach my people, you pick the 50 that says, get us, sit down. I got to change your life.
I love
Because
it.
you can pick one or the other, but the brain wants us to pick the safe one, which is, ooh, you better, I don't know, that could go bad. And then we're ready for it when, if it does. That's
Yeah.
not the way I operate.
Yeah. I'm getting close, I will say
Yeah.
proudly. I'm
Yeah.
getting close with your help and with your guidance and with some old teachings from you.
Yeah.
And practice, really just practice being open and very grateful that I can share what I know and be confident about it and know that it can really open some minds and energy.
Yeah.
It really is a cycle that's very gratifying too.
Yeah.
And the voice is the piece that we need locked down to make
Yeah.
sure that we get to see the full arc of this, seeing the new people, seeing the old people continuing to do well, maintaining your own health of your
Yeah.
voice over time as you
Yeah.
learn different things over the years. These arcs we've gone through and just keeping fresh too, which means up leveling, which
Yeah.
means walking into situations that you never thought you'd be able to be welcomed in to in the past, and they're happening. It's great. And yeah, our voice needs to come too. We can't we
Totally. Totally. And even for these things that you were talking about, communicating and relationships and self-care and I'm not going to do it, saying no, having a conflict, all these things that we cannot, well, I guess we can, but it's not the easy path to ultimately avoid these things throughout our whole life. I know some people do, and that is tragic.
it's a choice, and it's one where you definitely are losing. You're
Hmm.
losing a lot of exploration potential, a lot of growth potential, a lot
Yeah.
of exposure potential. And not everyone needs to want or love exposure, but you have access to that through your voice.
Yeah. Well, my TED Talk was about, the title of my TED Talk was Six Voice Masks That Determine Your Reality. And I truly believe that your voice determines your reality because of what you were saying earlier. It's the instrument of decision, it's the decision maker for people. And are they hearing something that says to them, yeah, you can run all over her? Are they hearing something that says, you better listen to her?
Yeah.
Well, this was good. Anything else, Christine, on this topic that we didn't cover?
I think we covered a lot. I'm really
Yeah.
grateful to how you run conversations and interviews. I really love them. I loved the last one. I remember that too. And I would just say a note of encouragement that that's really the underlying message, is that there may be bobbles in your voice and you may subconsciously be self-sabotaging and you might not think anybody's going to listen to you. You might be in that state right now, but our conversation today really reminds people that there's so much more out there that you have access to, that you could learn to access, that you could learn to let go of something holding you back so that you have a new space to explore whatever you want. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be linear or organized or structured or what your next door neighbors are doing. It could just be something new. And so if you're looking for new stuff, maybe check in with Tracy about your voice, take a challenge, clear some clutter,
Yeah.
and allow the learning to happen.
Yeah.
You're fine. You're always fine. I think that's what Tracy just reminded me of with her coaching just a minute ago. We are all fine, and we need to make sure that we're representing that part of us, the 50% that has got it locked down. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, we'll put the link in the show notes to the challenge. When does it start?
So I'm hosting the challenge. It's the Re-Energize Your Home 5-day decluttering challenge, and it starts Monday, September 8th. So come in
Yeah.
quick, as it always does. And I do this challenge several times a year. This will be the 10th round. So
Okay.
you know it's really locked down. And I do 5 days of very quick tricks and tips and explanations for why these tricks and tips will help you get over the old stories about me and the clutter. It's
Yeah.
not going to be that story of, oh, we don't like each other and we don't look at each other. It's going to
Yeah.
be more like, okay, what do we do now? And you're going to get in there with your hands and with the other people in the challenge, and you're going to do substantial work in this decluttering by the end of the week. It's totally free. And the way to join is to go to procrastinationcoach.com/Goodwin. Again, procrastinationcoach.com/Goodwin, and you'll get an opt-in form, and we'll start together on September 8th. So thank you,
Yeah.
Tracy, for helping me
Yeah.
to promote it.
Yeah, for sure. And I will put that link in the show notes, but go sign up. I know this will be a great, great week for all of you. Christine, thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you with me.
I'm so glad we did this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you, listeners. Always great to have you. But that's it for today, and I'll see you next time.